Hello everyone, this is CA Rekha Karthik and you're watching this on our YouTube channel CA Sansar. Today we will discuss about the amendments in income tax law for the assessment year 2021 and 21-22. And as we all know that there are few changes which are so drastic that it will change the income tax law completely, like old versus new tax regimes for individuals and companies. So one must have the clear understanding on these changes. So this is going to be very interesting and very useful discussion. So let's see the table of content. Today we will discuss about the tax rate for individuals, HUF, partnership firm, companies, and the rate of surcharge applicable on that, and the amendments under various heads of income, the situations where ITR filing has made mandatory, the revised due dates of income tax for assessment year 2021, provisions related to the changes in NRI, tax treatment of dividends, registration of trust and educational institutions, then section 80G reduction, that is contribution to PM CAS fund, provisions and for filing tax audit provisions and filing of tax audit reports, penalty for false entry in the books of accounts. So let's quickly start with the tax rate for individuals, HUF, AOP and BUI for assessment year 21-22. So the Finance Act 2020 has provided an option to the individuals and HUF for payment of tax at the reduced rate for assessment year 2021-22 onwards. So first we will see the old tax rates. So previously it was income up to 2.5 lakhs was nil tax rate. 2.5 lakh to 5 lakh, 2.5 to 5 lakhs was taxed at 5%. 5 to 10 lakhs was taxed at 20% and above 10 lakhs was taxed at 30%. Now in the new revised tax rates, the income up to 2.5 lakhs is nil, and for increase in the income of every 2.5 lakhs, the rate of taxation is increasing by 5%. That is, income for 2.5 to 5 lakhs is 5%, 5 to 7.5 lakhs is 10%, and so on. And if the income exceeds 15 lakhs, then it is taxed at 30%. So now the taxpayers are trying to figure out which tax structure is more beneficial to them. So here the answer is quite simple. Anyone claiming tax exemption and deduction for more than 2.5 lakhs in a year will not gain much from the new tax structures. This threshold limit of 2.5 lakhs includes a standard deduction of 50,000 for which no investment is required, and all the salary tax employees are eligible for this. And apart from this, the balance 2 lakhs, 1.5 lakh is taken care by ATC deduction, and most of the taxpayers are claiming HRA, interest on education loan and interest on home loan also, and also ATTTA, that is up to 10,000 is exempt from the income from savings account. Interest income from savings account. So if we see, if the gross total income is more than 10 lakhs and above, and if the individual is utilizing all the deductions under section 80, chapter 6A, in that case, you're better off in the old tax regime, as it works in your favor for a tax planning point of view. Whereas if the individual is in the middle income group, like example for 5 lakhs, in that case, new tax regime may be more advantageous. So now let's see the rate of surcharge. So surcharge is levied on the amount of income tax at the following rates. So if the income is 50 lakhs to 1 crore, it is taxed, surcharge is 10%. 1 crore to 2 crores is 15%. 2 to 5 crores is 25%, and above 5 crores is 37%. And health and education cess is also levied at the rate of 4% on the amount of income tax plus surcharge. Now let's see the tax rate for assessment year 2021 and 21-22 for partnership firms and LLP. So tax rate is 30%, surcharge is 12% if the income exceeds 1 crore, and health and education cess is 4% on income tax plus surcharge, and also AMT is payable. The tax payable cannot be less than 18.5% of adjusted total income as computed under section 115 JC. Now let's see the tax rate for companies. So the Finance Act, now they have given the company 3 different options for the taxation from assessment year 2021 onwards. So let's see each section one by one. So section 115BA says, if the company is set up and registered on or after 1st March 2016, and if it is a manufacturing concern, in that case, the rate of taxation will be If the income is 1 crore or less, it will be taxed at 26%. If income is between 1 crore to 10 crore, then it will be taxed at 27.82%. And if total income exceeds 10 crores, then it shall be taxed at 29.12%. And here the option has to be exercised by the company in any previous year, and the company is not exempted from the MAT provisions. The MAT will be applicable to the companies at a revised rate of 15% instead of 18%, and any unutilized MAT credit shall also be liable to be carried forward by the companies. Next is section 115 BAA. So here, irrespective of the date of registration, the company can opt for this section, and it is applicable to all the companies. It need not be manufacturing concerns alone. And here the effective rate of taxation is 25.12%, and company has to exercise this option in any previous year. And yes, here the company is exempt from MAT. The MAT provisions are not applicable, and any unutilized MAT credit will be lapsed in the hands of the companies. And next is section 115 BAB. So this section is only for the new manufacturing concerns, which are the companies which are set up after 1st October 2019, and production has commenced on or after 31st March 2023. So in that case, this section will be applicable, and the effective rate of taxation shall be 17.16%. And the company has to exercise this option at the time of filing first tax return. And here the company is exempt from MAT. MAT provisions are not applicable, and there is no question of unutilized MAT credit since this is the new company. So next we will see the amendments under various heads of income. So first is salary income. So standard deduction from salary until previous year was 40,000, and now it is increased to 50,000. Also, employees' contribution to national pension scheme is exempt perquisite in the hands of the employee. Such contribution can be made up to 10% of salary income. Contribution to government employees will be 14% of salary income, and contribution to RPF is 12%. So there was no upper cap limit on the contribution made by the employers. But now from the assessment year 21-22, the government has increased made the upper cap limit of 7.5 lakhs, which means that any contribution made by the employer above 7.5 lakhs will be taxed in the hands of the employees. Next is income amendments under the head house property. So here, under section 54 on sale and purchase of house property, now on sale of one residential house property, the individual can purchase 2 house properties, and this benefit is applicable only for once in a lifetime of the SSC. And also the SSC can claim 2 houses as self-occupied property, and remaining shall be the let-out properties. However, here again, the maximum deduction will be on interest paid for the house property. Each house will be 1.5 lakhs, and together it will be 2 lakhs. Next is amendment under the head capital gain. So if the actual consideration of purchase or sale of property is less than the value prescribed by government, then such difference was added to the buyer and seller income. But now the revised provisions are as under. So if stamp duty value does not exceed 10% of actual transaction price or 50,000 rupees, then in that case, both purchase and sale of house property will be ignored. And again, if the stamp value exceeds 10% of actual transaction price, in that case, on purchase of the immovable property, it will be treated as income from other source, and on sale of the house property, it will be treated as income from capital gain or business income. And next is fair market value as on 1st April 2001 of immovable property on capital gains. So again, here there is a major changes. So in the case of land and building, we all know that if it was acquired before 1st April 2001, the SSC was given an option to substitute fair market value as on 1st April 2001 instead of the actual cost. So with effect from financial year 2021, this option has been restricted such that the fair market value would not exceed the stamp value prevailing as on 1st April 2001. Next is amendment in the heads of business or profession. So here the depreciation rate on motor vehicles has been changed. So previously if the motor vehicle was used for hiring or running as taxi, In that case, the rate of depreciation was 30%. And for the period of 23rd August 2019 to 31st March 2020, this rate of depreciation has been increased from 30% to 45%. And similarly, if the vehicle was used for the purpose of business, the rate of depreciation was 15%. And for the period of 23rd August 2019 to 31st March 2020, it is increased to 30%. This increase in the rate of depreciation is only for the period of 23rd August 2019 to 31st March 2020. Again, from 1st April 2020, the rate of depreciation shall be the old rate only, not this revised rate. Now let's see the situation where ITR filing has been made mandatory. So to seek the make the taxpayer base, expanding the taxpayers base further, the government has proposed to increase the income tax return filing mandatory for certain situations. When the income is below the taxable limit, even then the company, the individuals are required to file the income tax returns. So the situations are as follows. If the SSC has deposited more than 1 crore in the bank account which is maintained in any bank or cooperative society, if the SSC has incurred an electricity expenditure of more than 1 lakhs in the previous year, and if the SSC has made the foreign expenditure of more than 2 lakhs for himself or for any other person, if any one of these conditions has been satisfied, then the SSC is required to file the income tax return, even if his income is less than the taxable limit as mentioned in the income tax returns. So next, let's see the revised due dates. So for furnishing the tax audit reports under Section 44AB or under any provisions of the Act, the due date is 31st October 2020. And for ITR filing, the due date is 30th November 2020. The completion of scrutiny assessment for assessment year 18-19 by the department has been extended to 31st December 2020, and also the Aadhaar linking due date is extended to 31st December 2020. Now let's see the changes in the provisions of NRI account. So Indian citizens or persons of Indian origin shall be treated as resident but not ordinary resident if he was in India for more than 120 days and his income received or accrued in India is more than 15 lakhs. However, if the income is less than 15 lakhs, then he shall be continued to be governed by the old provisions only. And next is if the Indian citizen living outside the India and is not assessed to income tax in other country, in that case, he shall be deemed to be resident of India if his income is more than 15 lakhs from the Indian sources or Indian connections. And in this case, visit to India is not required for such citizens. Next, there is a major changes in the tax treatment of dividend also. So with effect from 1st April 2020, dividend received from the companies or mutual fund would be included in the income from other sources, and TDS will be deducted at the rate of 10% under Section 194K by the companies or mutual fund if the amount of dividend exceeds 5,000, and no expenses can be deducted from such income except interest on borrowing made for such investment to the extent of 20% of such dividend. So this is also one of the major changes in the dividend. Previously, dividend taxation was exempt. Next is taxation of trust and educational institution. So here, all existing trust and educational institution need to get the fresh registration before 31st December 2020. So such trust should keep all the trust deed and all necessary documents of registration ready for applying for the fresh registration. And a new registration shall be valid only for 5 years, and after 5 years it has to be renewed and it will be scrutinized by the registering authority. Then reporting of donation received by the trust. So trust registered under Section 80G who are accepting the donations now have to file a statement of donation received after 1st October 2020 and issue a certificate to the donor in a prescribed form. Only after filing of such statement, the donor will be able to get the deduction of the donation paid under Section 80G. Failure to file such statement within the due date will involve the penalty, late fees of 200 per day, and penalty by assessing officer may be ranging from 10,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupees. Next is Section 80G deduction, contribution to PM Care Fund. So every person donating to PM Care Fund shall be eligible to 100% deduction on the amount deducted from his total income. And also the limits of 10% of adjusted total income will not be applicable for the donation made to PM Care Fund. And also if the donation is made between the period of 1st April 2020 to 30th June 2020, then the taxpayer has the option that they can claim this deduction either in the financial year 1920 or 2021. So if the taxpayer opt to claim for deduction in financial year 2021, in that case, he shall not be eligible to opt for concessional tax regime of Section 115 BAC and 115 BAD. Next is changes in the provision of tax audit reports. Yes, so here the tax audit limit previously was, now it is for business 1 crore and for profession 50 lakhs. So Finance Act 2020 made an amendment to increase the tax audit limit to 5 crores if these conditions has been satisfied. So the conditions are, if the cash received during the year is less than 5% of total cash receipts, and also the cash payment made during the year is less than 5% of total cash payment. So in that case, if both the conditions are satisfied, then the tax audit limit is increased from 1 crore to 5 crores. And now next is date of filing of tax audit reports. So until 2000, until previous years, the due date for income tax return filing and tax audit report filing was same. But now from financial year 1920 onwards, it is made that the audit report has to be filed before the income tax return filing. So for example, if the income tax return filing due date is 30th November 2020, then the audit report has to be filed before that, that is 31st October 2020. Next is provisions for false entry in books of accounts. So this is applicable from 1st of April 2020. And it says that if the assessing officer found guilty for proceeding false claims, omission of any tax relevant entry in the books of accounts, then penalty can be imposed by the assessing officer, which shall be equal to the aggregate amount of such false or omitted entry. And under this section, both of the following may be penalized. The assessee can be penalized, and also any other person who cause assessee to make the false entry or omit in any entry in the books of accounts. So thank you so much for watching this video, and if you find this video useful, then please like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel CS Ansar. Thank you so much.